warm welcome to Daily Dispatch, a show that gives you all the latest news and updates from the digital ecosystem. I'm Priya Sheth. Thank you very much for logging in. Time now to get you all the top news stories that we've been tracking for you this evening. Well, first up, digital payments platform PhonePe has partnered with Flipkart to enable a pay-on-delivery service for the e-commerce majors' orders. Now, PhonePe's dynamic QR code solution will enable customers who earlier opted for cash-on-delivery to pay digitally through any UPI app at the time of delivery. Moving on to the second headline of the day, fintech unicorn Pine Labs has invested about $600 million, led by Fidelity Management and Research Company, as well as BlackRock Inc. This investment round is subject to approval from the SEBI, but it's backed by Sequoia Capital, Temasek Holdings, Actis, PayPal, as well as MasterCard, amongst other leading global investors, which makes Pine Labs valued at about $3 billion. While B2B digital adoption solutions provider WhatFix has implemented an employee stock ownership plan or an ESOP buyback of $4.3 million for its employees, WhatFix is granting the option to liquidate up to 35% of their vested ESOPs to their employees. Now, this is the first buyback by the company where over 80% of the eligible 175 employees have chosen not to liquidate their vested shares. Moving on to the final headline of the day, reports suggest that digital payments giant Paytm is planning to file its DRHP on July 12th for a domestic initial public offering that is aimed at raising about $2.3 billion. The money will be raised by the sale of new Paytm stocks as well as secondary offerings of shares at an expected valuation of $24 to $25 billion. Well, moving on to our second segment, I have with me someone who's been in news. I have with me Ajith Karimpana from Furlenco. Thank you very much for joining us today. The big news is that Furlenco has raised about $140 million, a big fundraise coming in out there. Tell us a little bit about what the funds are going to be utilized for and what really the fundraise means to you.
Well, fundraise is always a milestone, but then it's just a stepping stone towards what we were always doing. It's actually a fuel for the next phase of growth that we are planning on. What is it going to be primarily used? It's a mixture of debt and equity. So most parts of it is going to be used to build assets. Furlenco as a business requires to build assets, and we will be building that. Assets in this case is furniture mostly and appliances and things like that. And besides that, of course, there's also about about 850 crores of that is debt and 150 crores is equity. So equity is going to be used for growth, basically marketing and investments in technology and so on and so forth. Growth would be in terms of one, moving into newer cities. We are already in about 11 cities. We'll be moving to about 20 odd cities in the next year or two. We'll also be getting into newer categories. We are already into various different categories as we speak, from bikes to treadmills to name it. We have everything on our platform. And then there is something more that we plan to do, which we will be announcing in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that.
Right, we'll be watching out for those announcements. But talk to us about the last couple of months. We've been in the middle of a pandemic at a time when people are hesitating to rent out things, to go out there and even shop for things for that matter. How did you manage this kind of scenario, and what kind of growth have you seen over the last 6 to 8 months?
A lot of things. So number one, it was a mixed bag for us, right? Lockdown affected everyone. It affected us as well. We have to deliver furniture and pick up furniture, and we couldn't do that. But then the beauty of this business, the subscription business, is that once you deliver the furniture, that rent keeps coming in every month. So it's a subscription business. So we don't have to keep acquiring customers every month to get the same revenue that we got last month. Normally, a selling business would require that every month you sell and only then you are able to survive for that particular month. Not in this business. In this business, you acquire customers, they continuously keep paying you rent, And as long as you run your company according to those costs, according to those revenue, you'll be fine. In fact, we were operationally profitable during the COVID year per se. We actually generated $1 million in positive cash. This is that kind of a business which actually generates a lot of free cash. So I would say mixed bag. We couldn't grow though. I mean, we would have loved to grow. Growth was inhibited by, of course, the lockdown, because we couldn't get newer customers to come on board. But then, in the better side of it was that we didn't lose revenue also. So we had a flat year per se, last year versus this year. I would take that any day, given the conditions that we were in. And now, but what we're seeing is that against what you would think, we are coming back roaring. In fact, June was our highest sales month ever in the recorded history of Furlenco. So July is going to be even higher. We are trending about 30-40% higher than June as well. So things are not only coming back fast, they are coming back with a lot more ferocity. And now with the money that we have raised, I think we are very well set for a much larger growth.
Give us a sense as to which categories have been doing well for you over the last couple of months. And specifically, you said June has been the highest in terms of highest ever month for you in terms of sales. So, what has been the fastest moving category? Are there one category? Are there two categories that have been doing well?
So, not specifically in June, but in general during the COVID times, I think work from home solutions did pick up a lot, but that was during the COVID times. Now it's just that people have found this as a great way to be asset light and get everything else. So if there is anything, COVID has actually proven to people that why would you want to build all these buy all these assets, furniture and appliance, and then if something were to happen, what are you going to do with those items, right? So I know of a lot of people who had to rush back to their hometowns pretty much as soon as the lockdown opened. So having all those assets actually makes them in a negative position. So now what we're seeing is that people have realized that, and when they're coming back to the hometown, to the urban centers, and starting to go back to their offices, they think that, hey, this is probably a better solution. Why should I buy all these things? Let me just pay one subscription fee and be done with it. When I can be asset light, I don't have to worry about getting rid of furniture or appliances. You just have to click a button and Furlenco will take it away. So I think if anything, it has been the other way around. Things have caught up. Things are actually much better now. People have realized that this is the way to be living. It's starting to become a way of life.
All right, when you talk about being an asset light kind of model, I do understand that Furlenco has a lot of assets out there. You do deliver a lot of sofas and appliances and even two-wheelers as a category. So how do you manage your inventory? Are you further looking at an asset light model for yourself?
See, asset heavy or asset light in this category is a myth. Somebody has to fund the asset for sure. Whether it is you funding or somebody else funding doesn't matter. We have been labeled incorrectly as having all the assets on our books. That is not true. For the record, more than nearly 40 to 50% of our assets is off the books. We are already 50% asset light. But coming back to the point, it doesn't make a difference in this particular business, whether it is somewhere else or with you, because a true asset light model is where the assets are fungible even when you are not there as a platform. And that is not the case with furniture. So while it is true from a financial perspective that more than nearly 50% of our assets are already off the books, but actually in this business, I mean, some of your colleagues have already written about this. It actually makes sense for the assets to be in the books. It is much more cheaper and better in the longer run. So I wouldn't say that being asset light is something that we are vying for. That is not the right way for this particular business.
Right, Ajit, talk to us about the categories of expansion. We know that you have exciting categories like two-wheelers that you'll have brought on board. So what can we expect going forward?
Anything under the sun inside a home. Home is where home lifestyle is the category. So anything that we believe makes sense from the following criteria, which is it is expensive to own, it has a changing need, and it can change with lifestyle as well. If these are the criteria, I think that can be brought into the mold of rentals. But for now, I mean, we're sticking with what people popularly rent. furniture being number one, appliances being number two, and then yes, now so we've started treadmill, we've started laptops, so we've started water purifiers. So you'll see a lot of these things. We'll keep entering more and more spaces inside the house one by one. So I think this is the beginning of subscription e-commerce. If e-commerce was the decade between 2010 and 2020, I think 2020 to 2030 is going to be subscription commerce.
Right, it's an interesting thought that we're going to hold on to. But I want to understand, Ajit, in terms of larger revenue and growth going forward. I believe that 2,000 plus crores is the kind of revenue target that you have over the next 5 years. So can you break this up and tell us how you look at achieving these kind of revenues?
Yes, so primarily it's going to be the business of subscription. So Furlenco, and in the next few days we're going to be announcing a few more things, a few more interesting twist to the tale. Put together, all of them would be 2,000 crores, but the larger chunk would be the subscription business, which should be roughly about 1,200 to 1,400 crores in the next 5 years. But there are a few more things that we are launching for the viewers. That'll be interesting for everybody. The hint I can give you is that we are a sustainable business, so we will be doubling up and tripling up in that particular space, more in the sustainable furniture space and in the sustainable category ways. Subscription is one of our expression. In the coming days, you'll see more.
Right. After $140 million of fundraise, do you think you're going to go in for another round by the end of this year, considering that you have aggressive plans, 2,000 crore rupees in terms of revenue as your target, and I believe 20 cities by the end of this financial year? That's your target, right?
Yeah. So we would be, for now we are good. This money is good enough for at least next couple of years, but we do have aggressive plans. So in order to counter the aggressive plans, we may raise some more equity money. Debt, we are good. We have enough to fund our assets. We have enough money. So we may shore up some more equity in the coming months.
All right, Ajith. On that note, many thanks for joining us today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and congratulations on your fundraise. Thanks for your time.
Well, time now to wrap up this edition of the Daily Dispatch. I'll catch you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Goodbye and stay safe.